My name is Jerry Ford, as it says, and I am a convicted garlic grower serving a life sentence that I'm about 20 years into at this point. Don't think I'll ever be able to get free of it. And some of the finest gourmet garlic in North America is actually grown right here in Minnesota. Imagine that. And you can grow it in your gardens. And some of you are here to testify to that. So the QR code, I'm not sure which that one is, but there's a QR code there. Everybody knows how to do QR codes, right? If I can do it, y'all are bound to be able to do it. Now, how many people are already growing garlic? Well, I'm not sure why I'm here. You're probably all very successful. And who wants to get into it? That's great. Good. Anybody planning to do it like for market, to sell it? Oh, good. Don't need the competition. No, that's it's a difficult time to do that right now. And we can talk a little bit more about that, mainly because of disease problems that we're having. You may have noticed some in your garlic this year. All right, so we can go on to that next slide. Whenever you're ready, I wish you could see Teresa. She's like doing stair climbs right now, running back and forth. There she goes. All right, so this is a QR code for this book. The string and the whistle and everything are on here, so you don't take my copy, because it's really only available online now. And you can download it with that QR code. And so if you would just do that and then read the book and then let me know any of your questions. Thanks, good night. No, I'm kidding. So we will, this book has a lot of good stuff in it. I mean, it will tell you how to do it, and I also love talking about it. So, and I am one of the authors of this extension publication. All right, next slide, please. So I will tell you about the 3 most common mistakes that gardeners make in growing garlic. By the end of the class, my hope is that at the very least you will avoid these mistakes. There's going to be a test at the end. So, and my wife says I should always focus on the positive, not the negative, like mistakes and wrong and all that. So I balanced it out with a really cool picture of me after a good harvest. And if you can't tell, the t-shirt's really cool because it's got people like bowing down to a pot of coffee. My only addiction. So first off, let's take a look at the plant, and we can go to the next slide to make sure we're all talking about the same thing here. So it's one plant yields one garlic bulb. It's not like a tomato plant where you're going to plant something and there's going to be all these little garlic bulbs on there. So not a lot of return on investment there. You're going to get one bulb out of one seed that you plant. So for our purposes, we're going to call a thing like this the bulb, and then the cloves are that bit, and that's what you're going to plant. And we'll get more into that. I'm kind of going in counterclockwise order here. The only part of this that is really a stalk is right down there at that root base. The rest of it is what they call a pseudo stalk, because it's actually all leaves from that point. Let's call it a stalk, just to be, the part that shoots up from here. And we're going to go ahead and call it a stalk, just to keep from getting confused here. And then each one of those leaves that comes up on the plant there is one of the wrappers around the bulb. The top leaves are the inside wrappers, and the bottom leaves on the plant are the outside wrappers. So you can see, okay, they're saying it's actually just a stalk, and all of that is leaf. and the leaves come together in what we will call the stalk. Then there is a scape. In most of the garlic we grow in Minnesota, it puts out a flower stalk. It bolts, and we'll talk more about that. And this, I'm going to put my star up here real quick. That's what a fully mature garlic plant will look like if you leave the scape on there and let it come up and make a flower at the top. Now we need to get it out of the way right now that this is not seeds. They're called bulbils. There's no cross-pollination in garlic. No garlic partying going on out there like all your other plants that cross-pollinate with pollinators. Garlic is all clones. Every single part of this, even the little bitty bulbils up here are, they're not going to break apart yet. There they go. Those little bitty bulbule things are also little mini-me clones. So we'll talk about why it's important to know about the scape here in just a moment. Now next slide please. The two ways that we first distinguish different kinds of garlic, because there's over 100 varieties of garlic out there. There's at least 50 grown in Minnesota. But the first way we break it down is what I mentioned about the scape, the bolting, which is the hard necks, and then the non-bolting, which is the soft necks. Bolting, when it puts out that flower stalk, is a reaction to stress. It's the plant trying to ensure that it will reproduce. What it really wants to do is make more garlic plants. So if something goes wrong that stresses the bulb part under the ground, it's putting out that scape to put out little miniature clones that could reproduce. Why don't we just grow from the bulbils then? No, don't do that. Unless you just want like a 5-year mission in futility, don't do that. There are garlic cultivars that will only bolt under certain circumstances. Like even the soft necks that don't have the flower stalk, the ones that are more southern, they've adapted to southern climates, and they don't have that really stressful thing that we have called winter. So they don't get stressed out. Well, when you try to grow them here, they get a little stressed. And sometimes they will attempt to put out a scape and bulbils and just not very good at it. So the descriptions, hard and soft neck, sometimes stiff neck, they'll call it, are a description of that stalk. This stalk is pretty stiff now, whereas the soft neck type garlics that you get like in the grocery store, they have floppy necks. If you ever see them, they don't keep them on in the grocery store. But now we're going to get to the kinds that I think you should grow here in a moment. All right, next slide. So this is just for a primer, the soft necks, non-bolting. There's 3 main varieties of or family groups of those, and these are some of the varieties. And what I'm going to tell you is once you get really good at growing garlic and you want to do an exercise in potential failure, go ahead and grow some of these. Now, some people have great success. I grew artichoke varieties near the beginning of when I got going with this, and I gave up after about 3 years. Got tired of them just being real weak and not able to survive. I like crops that thrive on neglect. I want something that it's like plant it, mulch it, and then forget about it till it's harvest time. Not quite true. Yes, I'm saying that most of the grocery store garlic you're going to see is coming from China or California, and they don't have the same kind of conditions we do there. And they're also, if they're coming from China, they been sprayed with stuff that you probably don't want to put in your body to keep it from sprouting on the way here. Okay, there's all kinds of reasons. Plus, we grow these big, beautiful garlic bulbs here. Get this stuff, and I'll tell you how you can store it at home so that it will keep for months as well towards the end here. See, I'm keeping you here. Yes, some comes from Spain, but most of this kind of garlic is just doesn't make it into the grocery stores. Now, you will see it in some of the co-ops, health food stores, upscale stores. If you're going to grow some softnecks, I recommend the artichoke family. You can see why it's called that. They've got all these cloves in, and it looks sort of like an artichoke when you look at it split down the middle. Okay, next slide, please. This is just an example of some of the softnecks. These folks out in Big Stone County, far western almost Dakotas, they are very good at growing garlic, and they do grow some of this stuff. But it's got all those cloves in it, 18 or so. Next slide, please. So there's advantages to the softnecks, and that one of them is they've got lots of cloves. That's great. Every clove is a plant. If you're going to grow garlic, every single clove is the thing you plant. So if there's 18 in a bulb as opposed to 4 in a bulb, you get more cloves for your buck. But they're really small, and they don't survive because they're really small. Whereas these big fat cloves have got all kinds of energy stored up, and we'll talk more about that. My recommendation is that if you're getting started, that you with garlic here, go with the hardneck varieties first. They're good trainer garlics, and I'll even tell you which ones. Let's go to the next slide. All right, so there's the parts of the hardneck that we looked at a moment ago. Botanists used to think that the hardnecks were different species from the softneck. It turns out they're all just Allium sativum. So it's just how they react to stress and how they adapt. Garlic likes to please us. And ever since, like, Marco Polo took garlic back and forth on the Silk Road, it's like, oh, you want me to adapt to growing up north? Which it started there, by the way. Garlic is not from warm climates originally. It came from cold climates, like above 5,000 feet in western China and Uzbekistan. And it's a cold climate crop. But then they took it down to Italy, places like that, and it said, I can adapt. And then it became a new variety, but it's all still Allium sativum in the species. Okay, next slide. These are the hardneck family groups that you see here. You have hardneck, and then you have these family groups, and within the family groups are all these different varieties, the names of them. And you see there, and this, by the way, refers to your handout. I'm going in reverse order just to see if you're paying attention. So there are these family groups, and then actually we'll talk more about the purple stripes, because there are 3 different kinds of purple stripes that are genetically distinct. Now, when I say they're hardy, it means they're going to survive extreme conditions, like our winters, and more likely to produce big bulbs. And it's like, why grow garlic if you can't grow big bulbs? And they're not hard to grow. So next slide, please. That hardiness is directly related to the number of cloves in the bulb. Like I mentioned, the larger that clove is, the thing you're going to plant, the more stored energy it has, more meat in there to survive. And so that seems to be directly related. So you see the number of cloves increases as it gets down to the less hardy Creole varieties. The bulbs can be the same size, if that's what you're asking, but there'll be more cloves in there. Like the Creole, 12 cloves in it, and actually Creole never gets big in Minnesota. I don't recommend trying to grow it, but like Asiatic, we'll have 8 to 10 cloves. Rocambole, 8 to 10 cloves. And I've grown Rocamboles in the past that are, you know, just as big as this. But that means the cloves are smaller. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So this is my recommendation. If you're just getting started, or if you want to make life easy on yourself, grow the porcelain family varieties and the purple stripes. And you'll see it on that sheet. The different varieties, I'm going to get into that. So start with these, get your chops, and then move on to the other varieties. Next slide, please. So the advantage of these is, like I've said, the big cloves. That's also a disadvantage, because if you're buying garlic by the pound and you want a bunch of plants, well, you're going to get a lot fewer with these kind of bulbs, but they're more likely to survive and give you big bulbs. So there's a trade-off there, and they're very tasty. The porcelains will often, you know, when they've done taste tests with chefs, I think they're actually biased because they love that the clove is so big and you don't have to peel as many. So it's like, that tastes good to me. But you do get fewer to plant. Is that all making sense so far? Next slide. So here are some of the porcelains that are common in Minnesota. I grow the 3 on the left, and music garlic. People think I named it that because my wife is a musician and I was in the arts and all that. I didn't. It was named after a guy named Music from Canada. Music is probably the most grown garlic in Minnesota. Everybody wants music. When I get people calling up, do you have music? Yeah. These other ones are nice too. Generally, the porcelains also store the best. They keep really well. When you store them properly at home, we'll get to that. And all kinds of conditions can affect the storage in any given year. Okay, next slide. Then we have the purple stripes. They're almost as good as the porcelains. And the purple stripes, as it suggests, have purple striping on them, but not like this. This is a porcelain. It shouldn't look like this. We'll get to that too. So there are these different family groups of purple stripes. All of them are going to be really good to grow. You see them on the charts there. They're going to be easy to grow. Deerfield purple and chestnut red are probably the most common of the purple stripes in Minnesota. All right, so let's talk about seed. Next slide, please. I'd like you to think of garlic as a perennial, you know, like an apple tree, that you plant every year. You replant it every year. Like a lot of the bulb plants in your flower garden. If you have perennial bulb plants, well, a lot of them you have to move them, right? Replant them, divide them. That's what garlic does. After all, it is a lily. It's in the lily family. Most lilies smell better. So what you eat is what you plant. That clove is what you're going to plant, right? I'm probably overstating the obvious here. So in addition to picking the right cultivars that we just talked about, next slide, please. Oh, yeah, I'm not on the next slide. Here we go. Buying local isn't just a fad or an economics thing. I'm I encourage people to buy local as much as you possibly can, but it also makes sense with garlic. If you get your seed from someone near you, remember I talked about it acclimates to its conditions? Well, if you buy it from Missouri, Oregon, it's going to take it a while to adapt. You know, it's that perennial that you replant and it goes, whoa, I'm in a really strange place now. Conditions are totally different. It's going to take me a couple of years to get back up to speed. Whereas if you buy it from your friend down the road, or even just the upper Midwest, it's going to be ahead. It's going to take less time to adapt to your conditions. Then I have the Garlic Fest logo up there because it's a great time to buy your seed garlic next year, because it just happened. It's Saturday. I know it got eclipsed by the Corn Carnival. It's just everybody's so excited about Corn Carnival that they forget about the Garlic Festival. So we only had about 4,000 people. And then there's that QR code. This is for a directory, and all these are going to come back up again. But this is for a directory of upper Midwest garlic growers who would be more than happy to sell you seed garlic and culinary garlic for your kitchen. Okay, next slide, please. One of the most important things you're going to want to do is check for disease. And this is another great reason to buy local, is you can go see it. If you buy it out of a seed catalog, you know, you don't get to see it before you pay for it. So you want to check for the diseases. You want to check that there's soft spots. If there's any soft spots in there, well, it's probably starting to rot or got some other sort of problem. That in general, the skins are intact. I've peeled these skins off, but you shouldn't be able to see the cracks between the individual cloves, because if that means it's been compromised. Can still be okay, but if you have a choice, get stuff that's still got all the skins on them. Minimal blotches. There will be little blotches on it sometimes. That is often just superficial on the skins, but it is a mold. And we'll talk more about reducing mold in your garlic. Then one of the first things you want to check is the root base. Right down there. This is the real pro tip. When I see people that buy garlic from me and they immediately flip it over and look down here, I know that they know what they're doing. I also know the newbies and the experienced people because they'll sniff it. The newbies want to smell garlic. The experienced people know that if it was properly cured, you shouldn't be able to smell it until you've opened it up. So checking that root base, is it, and right now that one's kind of, it's hard to see anyway, but that it is intact. Now, we're already on the next slide, that's good. In that directory from the previous slide, I probably said slide, there's, everybody in that directory has done disease testing for the worst disease, and we're going to get to that one. The worst disease is completely preventable by not buying seed stock that has it already. Okay. Now we're on. Let's go to that next slide with ugly garlic in it. There's more information on garlic diseases in the one of the other QR codes, a website that the Sustainable Farming Association has, and in the extension booklet that you can download. It has more information on diseases. Back when I first started growing garlic, we said garlic doesn't get diseases. It's got its own natural immune system, and it did. And then the diseases, the bugs and the different things that get it said, yeah, well, we'll show you. So now we are dealing with some disease problems. This disease that you're seeing in the purplish, I'm pointing, there's a screen back there that I'm looking at. What's he pointing at? is a disease called Aster yellows phytoplasma. Sounds like something out of Star Trek, but it is a disease that we didn't even know about till 2012, and then we had what I call the Aster apocalypse that year, and I lost 75% of my crop in the field. It just died. We had a moderate infection last year, but the bugs came late, and they bit the plants, and we didn't even know we had it. Some of you may be going, oh, I'm seeing this in my garlic now. And it started to look like this, getting all purpley and yellow, and that's carryover infection from last year, because we planted in the fall. We're going to talk more about that. You don't plant in the spring. That's one of those 3 things at the beginning, the right time. We planted in the fall, and we didn't catch everything. Some of it was diseased and carried over to this year. The good news about this disease is it doesn't persist in the soil. It only persists in living plant matter. Okay. And some people say it smells bad. It's garlic, you know. But I can sort of, and you come up and smell this one later. Kind of an odd request. It smells bad. Here, try it. Some people say it smells like root beer or licorice. And there are people that I know that from the second row would be able to smell this. I can't. But, okay, so this is one you're going to watch out for. And if you get it from me and from a bunch of the other more experienced growers, they will have screened for it. There's not a good test for it, but we can tell by looking at it and smelling it that we've got it, and we won't sell that to you as a seed stock. Now this other disease, next slide please. This one is a real monster. We've only had a few cases of it here in Minnesota, but it wiped them out in eastern Canada, where they were trying to start growing garlic to compete with China. And that's why it developed, because they were monocropping and not rotating. We have an aggressive testing program here in Minnesota where you can send this in to the university, get a test, and if you get this, we're not going to let you in the directory, and we're not going to let you in the garlic festival to sell garlic. We're very carefully screening that. But this one will devastate your gardens. This nematode, little microscopic critter, will get into your soil, and you won't grow alliums at all there anymore. Onions, shallots, all those things. It'll just take them out. So don't get it. Insist on tested seed stock. And if you buy mine, it's tested. We got a negative test for the umpteenth year in a row now. And once you have your own seed stock and it's really good, don't buy any more. That's the one way to avoid getting it. Now you can do that cautiously, and it's fun to grow some other varieties. Ask the grower if they've tested. If it's in that directory, they have. They can't get in otherwise. All right, next slide. Now, another good reason for buying locally is the price. Now, the other thing, you know, I said I like crops that thrive on neglect, and I'm saying this as a joke before anybody gets upset with me. I also like crops that rich people like. And garlic demands high price. Good garlic demands a high price, especially good seed garlic. So we're at around $13 to $20 a pound. I'm not sure what, I'll tell you in a minute where you can get my garlic here in Cokato. I'm not sure what their price is going to be. Whereas these seed catalogs, it's highway robbery. And you can't check it out in advance. By the time it gets to you, they're probably saying, oh, by the way, there's that all sales are final thing. I mean, gurneys, $9.99 a bulb, and they don't tell you how big the bulb is. I don't know how they can do it, how they get those kind of prices, but obviously they do because people are buying them. So that's another good reason to buy local. The price is going to be better until all these local folks figure it out and start charging a whole lot more for their garlic. Okay, next slide. So if you want to harvest big bulbs, you need to plant from big bulbs. Yes, eventually a variety like this Armenian will eventually get big under the right conditions. But if it's already big, the chances of you getting big bulbs is much greater. So buy big bulbs to get big bulbs. If you want small bulbs, and there are some people who do, I don't know any of these people, but then you can certainly plant smaller cloves. Now, once you find a variety that likes your conditions, you know, try different things, buy safely and try different things, and find the ones that really like your conditions, you will never get a better seed stock than yours, because you're going to replant from that every year. This variety I've had since 2002, and one of my others, this is Armenian and a music, well, this is a music, since 2002, planting from the same seed stock. And in effect, it's the same plant that I planted in 2002, because what? It's a clone. It's like that same plant going on forever and ever. And then one other variety I grow, the German, I call it German porcelain because I like the name better than German extra hardy. I've had since 2012. And they have gotten so good that, you know, now 70% of my crop will be this big or bigger. And we do get bigger than this. We got, you know, bigger than baseball size. But I didn't bring those because I didn't want to lose them. And guess what we do with our very biggest garlic? Do we sell it? No, we replant that. Replant the big stuff. Keep your very best stuff to plant, unless you don't like it and want to get rid of it and then sell it all. Give it away. But don't give it away. It really runs the market for the rest. No, it doesn't. I have phased out more varieties than I grow. You know, now, you know, that's pretty and all, but it's just not thriving on neglect. We could talk more about how garlic actually propagates in the Q&A or afterwards if you want to, but otherwise, it's a clone. Okay, let's see. Oh, so you can grow really big bulbs and go to the garlic festival and win prizes. Ribbons, bragging rights. All right, next slide, please. Oh, and this one's going to throw you off, Teresa. Okay, don't hit the button yet. All right, because we got a special effect here. Now, let's talk about getting your soil ready. It's the only special effect I have in the whole show here. But first, a word about, hit the button. Yeah. Can you tell I used to be a theatrical designer before this farming thing kicked in? Rotation. The first thing to consider is if you want to plant an acre of garlic, don't do this. If you want to plant an acre of garlic, you need 4 acres that you can devote to garlic, because you're going to plant the acre and then you're going to move it over, you're going to move it over, move it over, and on the 4th year, you can come back. You need to rotate. This is primarily because of diseases that will build up in the soil, and then they're just waiting for you to plant it again that next fall. And the other is a nutrient drain. Garlic doesn't care for artificial fertilizers, anhydrous ammonia, all these different non-organic type fertilizer. It just doesn't like them. It doesn't respond well. What it loves is organic matter and the natural biome in good soil. Well, in order to get that, you need to rotate. So 4-year rotation, whatever, it's like if you've got 12 beds, raised beds, only 3 of them get to go into garlic, right? All right, next slide, no more special effects. Okay, planting. This is one of those 3 things at the beginning, the things that gardeners do wrong. When do we plant? We're going to plant in the fall. Even if you see seed garlic at, I don't know, the country store in Howard Lake in the springtime, don't buy it. Don't plant in the spring. You won't get garlic bulbs. Somebody's going to say, yeah, well, I did. Well, you got lucky. The time to plant is in the fall. What they need, especially these big northern varieties, is vernalization. Who knows what that means? Yes. They need to overwinter. Yep, cold temperature. They need a dormant period. Garlic is in the ground for 9 months. How many other garden plants do you have that take that long to mature? You put it in the ground in the fall, it puts down roots, it starts growing. And then it says, whoa, winter, come out of here, and it goes to sleep. And like some of the crowd here. And then it wakes back up again in the spring. So it needs that. It's got to have that winter vernalization. There are ways to trick it into thinking it's had that and try to put it in the ground in the spring, but the best results are going to be to get all your soil right, all your nutrients right in the fall, and then put it in the ground then. We've done a bunch of field trials, believe it or not. They actually paid us to do tests on garlic. And we tried planting in September, middle of September. Then we and then our standard middle of October here. And then we planted as late as we possibly could in November. You know, like you don't want to be doing what one guy who bought a whole bunch of garlic from me did and ran out of time, and he's out there with an auger drill drilling holes, putting the garlic in the ground because it was frozen. And what turned out was the September planted stuff and the October stuff did about the same. The yield was about the same. November, right before hard freeze, was less. It was diminished because it didn't have time to put down some roots. Okay? The problem is if you plant too early, it might not just put down roots. It might put up a stalk too and say, well, I'm going to get a head start here, and then it freezes back and you've lost that energy. It'll probably come back in the spring, but you've lost that energy. Okay, next slide. I have a good friend, Dr. Carl Rosen. He's the head of the soil science department at the university, and he's on our side. He's been growing garlic longer than I have. And he says, get your organic matter up in the soil. And I'm talking about composted organic matter. Lots of manure, lots of plant matter. Everybody's got compost bins, right? That stuff, well composted in your soil, and everything else should take care of itself. So that's the main thing. He has come to my fields and said, Jerry has, and this figure may not mean anything, but like 6.75% soil organic matter, whereas the cornfields around here have like 0.5%. He's got all the microbes and everything. He doesn't have to worry about soil testing. If you're going to plant in a new place, do some soil testing. The extension Service. They used to be the Extension Service. Now it's just Extension, University of Minnesota, has great resources on how to do soil testing. And it's a good thing to just get it right and know that you're not really deficient in something. pH is important. Most of our soils around here, unless you're planting in an old pine woods, it's not a problem. Your pH is going to be pretty neutral. If not, there are easy ways, relatively, to balance the pH. In this booklet, there's all kinds of information on the soil fertility and how to test and what you need. It likes a lot of nitrogen. And guess what's in soil that has lots of organic matter? Nitrogen. It wants a bunch of that. I supplement with composted poultry manure. Who knows what that is? Chicken poop. It comes from the chicken plants, like Forstmann, and it's even approved for organic because they heat treat it to the point and screen out any chemicals, and it's approved for organic. And it's just like nice little bit of nitrogen, but it's great slow release and adds organic matter. It's an excellent composted poultry manure, CPM we call it. It's an excellent fertilizer for garlic. Okay, next. I don't like to disturb soil any more than I have to. A lot of our farm is no-till, is like perennial crops, like pasture, and we don't disturb the soil any more than we have to. I have yet to find a good way to do that for garlic. It wants the soil friable, lots of, it's going to put down those deep roots in the fall. It wants it broken up and all of that organic matter incorporated in the soil. And I like this slide because I kind of have a soft spot for my old tractor there. It was absolutely the wrong tool for the job, but it was a cool old tractor. We now have one that's really the right tool for the job. And we use this 5-foot rototiller to work up our ground. And then you can use the walk-behind tillers. Get it nice and worked up, and then you're not going to disturb it again for 9 months. So good soil health practices once you've done that. Okay, next one. Spacing. It doesn't like to be crowded. So at least 8 inches. You can probably get away with 6 inches if you really know what you're doing and your soil's really great, but it wants to be 8 inches apart. We do beds we're doing it a little differently than this now, but with walk space between, so you can get in there for weeding. But do that 8 inches apart so that they have room to feed and moisture. My beds are actually 7 inches by 8 inches. I'm not sure how it got that way, but that's what we do. 7 by 8. Okay, next slide. You've got at least 6 inches of tilled depth there. Now, this is plant them right side up, because this is the way that they want to grow, right? This is going to become a root. This base part here is going to become the root. And where what's actually called a beak is going to become the stalk. Well, if it's over on its side, it has to fight a bit to get those roots down where it wants it and get that stalk where it wants it. It's funny to see one that's been planted completely upside down, because the stalk will literally go all the way around it and then come up. Well, it's spending a lot of energy doing that, and they won't get as big. So plant them right side up. You can see one going in there. And if you're planting these northern varieties, the purple stripes and the porcelains, they don't have to be deep. As a matter of fact, when we plant, this beak is often sticking up above the soil. They're just below the surface of the soil, because we're going to put mulch on it. And we'll get to that. Next slide. Mulching is, this is my garlic poking through about 5 to 6 inches of chopped up corn stalks. It will just push right through there. We have chopped corn stalks anyway. We use it for bedding for the animals, and you know, my renter has it, so it's a good mulch for me. Most people use straw. You want to get a really good oat or barley or wheat straw that is clean, doesn't have the seeds in there, because guess what you will get in the spring if it's got the seeds in there? A nice oat crop. And that's not the kind of cover crops we want. The winter protection of the mulch is more because of frost heaving. If it doesn't have a lot of roots down there, it can actually heave the cloves out of the ground as we go through a frost and thaw, whereas the mulch helps to moderate those temperatures. We've actually dropped these on the ground when we were planting accidentally, and they'll grow. I mean, we've gone back in the spring and there's like these cloves sitting on the ground. They've found a place to put roots. It's like, wait, we should just be broadcast seeding this stuff. No, don't do that. With the less hardy cultivars, you're going to have to actually use less mulch because the stalks aren't as stiff and they'll have a harder time pushing through. You may actually have to pull the mulch off to get them through it and then put the mulch back on. Some people think you're supposed to take the mulch off. Don't do that. Leave the mulch down there. They said, but you got to let the ground warm up. We did field trials. Garlic doesn't care. It's like got its own little internal clock, and it's, yeah, it'll come up a little later, but by harvest time, it's all the same. Unmulch, mulch, less mulch, it's all figured out to do the same. So what's the other advantage of having mulch out there during the growing season? Weed control. Everybody that loves weeding. No, I didn't think so. We do 2 passes through our garlic beds during the growing season from, you know, they'll came up in April this year, and then till we harvest in July, 2 times through pulling the weeds out. And it's mostly pulling. You know, thistles. If garlic can get through the mulch, Canadian thistle can get through the mulch. And I wish they say that a weed is a plant in the wrong place, right? I wish they'd go back to Canada. Our worst weed is Canadian thistle. Okay, so the other thing is moisture control. We're going to talk a little bit about moisture. Oh, let's do the next slide. It's kind of cool. There's one of my friends, helpers, celebrating that we finally got all the mulch on that bed there. And we do where our whole farm is hilly. I've often said my next farm is going to be flat and sandy instead of heavy loam and hilly, but it's actually quite lovely. So we do everything on the contour for water conservation. And then, so this bed goes like 500 feet and has 6 rows in it. Okay, so that's putting the mulch down. It's a hard job. If you're only doing a couple of beds, 50 plants or so, it's not so hard. When you're doing 6,000 or so, it's a tough job, and it's best to get it done before the snow flies. Doesn't always happen. Okay, and let's go to the next slide. Wintertime. Put something out there to keep the snowmobilers, if they're likely to go through there, put something out there to tell them you don't drive your snowmobiles over my beds of garlic. True story. And we also have the county trail goes through some of our property, and they've had permission for that. All I had to do was say, you know, we don't have to get permission for that. Before the word got around, if you see the pink flamingos, don't drive your snowmobile there. And I just like pink Not much to do in the wintertime with it, just sit and wait. It's down there just biding its time. All right, let's go to early spring, next slide. And here we go with, you may need to remove a little mulch. What we do is a thing called fluffing. We go in with pitchforks and just kind of push it up a little bit, just to give the garlic some room to come through easier. And then it packs back down as the season goes on. Don't remove it unless you absolutely have to. Next slide. Weeding. We talked a little bit about weeding. If you got a bunch of mulch, you're in good shape. This was a weeding party. We invited friends over for a weeding party, and I think this bunch actually did the partying part first. But they still got the job done. Before the plants get up to 6 inches or so, they hate competition. Once they get 8 inches to a foot, we just stop weeding by mid-June or so, because it's beating it, and as long as we're not scratching ourselves up with Canadian thistle trying to get it out of the ground, then that's fine. Next slide, please. I had a 7-year stretch watering garlic. This is actually a Chinese couple that I corresponded with in China, growing garlic there for the big conglomerate government run. It's like families have an acre of garlic and they plant it and grow it exactly the way that the government company says to do it, and that's their farm. Now I had a 7-year stretch where I did not water the garlic at all. It does not like to stay wet. Now it does want water, but it doesn't like to stand in water, which I'm grateful for my hills with this, because the water keeps moving downhill. Then after that 7-year stretch, we had those drought years, and we're just watering all the time. This year, I got a whole new sprinkler system with 300 feet of hose and all that, and set it out there and started sprinkling, and then Mother Nature turned on the faucet, and I didn't use again for the rest of the season. Actually, too much water this year. There is such a thing as too much water for garlic. It develops problems. So make sure that when you're going to plant, you're not in swales or low spots. You want the water to move through. Raised beds are good, as long as they're not these water troughs, livestock troughs where you're 2 feet above the ground. They don't care for that too much. But like a 6-inch, 8-inch raised bed, they love that. And that'll help to control that water flow through. Don't let them stand in water. They will get mold and all kinds of nasty things. Next slide, please. Okay, you're going to get to, in the season, in June, you're going to get to the point where the scapes are going to appear. Eat them. Don't leave them on the plant. Don't do this. Notice how small that bulb is compared to this. It's saying, I've got my backup reproduction system. I don't need to put a lot of energy in the bulb. Whereas if you take that scape off, right around the time it's doing its first curl, it goes, whoa, no backup system. I better put energy in the bulb. And there's been studies on this all around, that yes, cutting the scapes on hardneck garlics will make the bulbs bigger. So do that and eat them. The garlic pesto that one of the vendors was selling at the festival on Saturday was gone by 12:30, and it goes till 5 o'clock. And it was hundreds of cans of garlic scape pesto. It wasn't made with garlic cloves, it was made with those scapes, and it's delicious. You can use them in stir fries. There's all kinds of things that I don't know how to do, but my wife does. Okay, Yeah, that's what happens. The picture on the right. Actually, Mike, your son took that picture of the bulbules there. Okay. Enough about scapes. Let's go to harvest. After the scapes in June or so, then the next thing you're thinking about is harvest. And I get lots of calls in early July saying, how do I know when to harvest my garlic? Well, my rule of thumb is you have to watch the leaves, and when those bottom leaves are going brown, because the bottom leaves are which ones of the skins on here? Inside or outside? Outside. As they're starting to dry down, they're making a really nice seal for the garlic. And you want the inside stuff to still be nice and moist and green, but sealed in with those outer dry ones. So what I do is the third leaf, when the third leaf is going brown, then that means my third wrapper in is starting to dry down. So with that plant that you're seeing there, you can't even see the bottom leaf anymore. It's that brown at the bottom. It's gone. Then the next leaf that's jutting out to the side, it's about to go away. And then that next leaf up that's kind of coming towards us, it's about to go. Once those three are down, it's time to pull the garlic out of the ground. Do not wait till the whole plant has dried down. That's the wrong time. It's going to be too advanced. It may be already starting to break open and put up shoots at that point. And if a garlic bulb is in the ground and puts up shoots, do you know what we call it then? It's a weed. Okay. Some people say the top 2/3 of the plant is still green as opposed to bottom being brown. So that's when you know when to harvest. Okay, next slide. So if you've got that great mulch on there and you've got a nice balance of moisture in your soil and you've got these really sturdy hard-necked garlics, you can just pull them right out of the ground. Very little digging. Mike, you helped with harvest this year. How much digging did we do out of 5,000 plus bulbs? I think 3. And that's with the soil fork. And it's just like, okay, that one's not going to come out. We're going to break it. Bring the soil fork out. Maybe 3 out of 5,000 plus. We were able to just pull them up, lay them down, let them in the sun for just a while, and then get them in the shed. So with that right soil consistency, they can be easy to pull, and with the mulch on them. Now, if you're going to grow those other varieties that don't have as stiff a neck on them, or heaven forbid soft necks, you're going to be digging them. Thrive on neglect. That's what you want. Okay, let's go to the next slide, please. Curing. If you want your garlic to store, if you're going to put it all in pesto and pickles and everything right away, then you don't need to cure your garlic. You can go ahead and use it. It'll be a lot easier to peel once it's cured. Curing is not drying. It's not dehydrating. It's controlling the humidity, which has not been fun this year. And we do it in an enclosed environment with dehumidifiers and fans. And we get it to a point where it's got a nice sealed wrapper around it, and it's sealed in all that moisture and goodness. And we are, with careful curing, you can be eating your garlic in May into June. We have actually fed harvesting crews garlic from the previous fall's harvest because we stored it, we cured it well, and then we stored it well, and we're going to talk about that. All right, how do you know when it's done? It's going to take, in most environments, 3 to 4 weeks to get that done. And this is lots of airflow, lots of humidity control if you can do it. If you're in an outside shed or something, don't run the dehumidifier. It's not going to do any good. But get lots of airflow in there. Not only will it help it dry evenly, but it will help prevent mold, because it can get mold in there. So when you go to cut that stalk, and we do about 1 inch above the bulb, when you go to cut that, if nothing is bleeding out, if there's no moisture, if it doesn't feel moist, then you're cured. Well, that sounded funny. The garlic is cured. Eat a lot of garlic and you'll be cured. Okay, so do that if you're wanting your garlic to last through the winter. We do it because we want it to last stuff we're going to eat, yes, but we need it to last at least until October, because that's when we're going to replant it. And that's where all these people that we're selling seed garlic to are going to want to plant. So it's got to store well till then. Okay, next slide, please. That's what a few thousand garlic bulbs hanging up in the air look like. And we seal this shed up. It's insulated, and there's all those fans. You can see a dehumidifier. There's 2 big dehumidifiers running. And you don't want to open that door for about a week without taking a deep breath first. It is pungent. So I cure with the stalks and the roots on the plant. The big commercial growers like in California, they cut the plants in the field. They're cutting the stalks off and roots off. I feel like it cures better, and it's soaking back some of the nutrient from the plant. It's bringing that energy back into the bulb. So I like to cure with the whole plant up there. In that shed, it's like if there's a lot of dirt, soil on the roots, it's like raining soil from time to time as it's drying down. Let's see. I won't sell garlic. People are trying to buy the garlic now. It's not done. We haven't finished curing. We had the latest harvest ever, like 2 weeks later than normal this year, and it's taking longer to cure. And I've got people like, well, can I come and get my garlic this weekend? No, we're not done yet. I will sell no garlic before it's time. Okay, next slide, please. We're almost there, folks. Cleaning, once it's cured nicely, is pretty darn easy, especially with the porcelains and the purple stripes. The top 2 skins will just kind of pop off of there. Mike was helping me clean the other day, and we just quit because we couldn't get the second skin off without using our fingernails. We're like, okay, it's not done. It should be done looking at the calendar, but it's not. So you clean off a couple of skins, you've cut the stalk off, clip the roots off when you're ready to store it in the kitchen, clean it up with a little brush, and you're ready to go. Never water it, never clean it in water. Until you've completely peeled a clove, don't put water on it. You're just inviting molds into the garlic. Even some people like to wash it in the field. Oh, don't do that. you're inviting mold. So when you're storing it at home in your kitchen, lots of airflow. Put it out on the counter. Make your friends jealous when they come over and see this big bowl that's got holes in it for airflow. Colanders are great. Hanging braids are great. It's very hard to braid hard-neck garlic. But this is actually one of my braids, the longest, the big long ones there, when I was growing the soft necks. And people love those things. I like crops that rich people like. So we could charge a whole lot for inferior garlic. We just don't do it anymore. Too much work. And now we will do a thing where we'll use this netting and tie a little knot and hang it up in the kitchen. That's the best way to store it. You don't want it sitting in too much direct sunlight, but never in the dark, and never in the refrigerator until after you've peeled the cloves. Once you've peeled the cloves, sure, you can put them in the refrigerator. But I wouldn't do it until then. Just set them out and show them off. Okay, what else about that? let's go to the next, second to last slide. You didn't think we'd ever get there, did you? All right, so here's the test at the end of the class. What's the right seed? Just shout it out. What's qualities of the right seed? Local? Yeah. Big cloves, if you want big bulbs, big cloves. And did somebody say checking for disease? Yeah, no disease, disease tested. And stuff you didn't pay, something that would jeopardize your retirement for. Buy it local. I'm thinking about the retirement thing at this point in my life. Finally. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I didn't say it, I don't think. If it's compromised, if there's cracks all around, if it's exposed at the root base, if it's mushy at the root base, do not buy that. It's got some sort of awful plague, like the nematode. But that's where most disease comes in. Not the Astrellos that we talked about, but most other disease comes in at the root base. And that's going to be the telltale sign. If it just looks bad, pass on that one. If you go down to, everybody knows Heirloom Foods, formerly Dan and Becky's, right? My garlic will be for sale there by the end of this month. Right, Mike? We're going to get it ready by the end of the month. And you can buy it there. And it will be the 3 different varieties. They're very good about showing the 3 different varieties. And it will be bulbs like this big. And we keep them supplied through till usually Christmas or so. Yes, ma'am. No, they were harvested in July. And they had to do some really fancy curing this year to get ready. They were pushing the fans, pushing the dehumidifiers, and some were actually telling people, you need to finish the curing. You take it home, hang it up, put it out really in the open, put a fan on it, and finish the curing. Because the season was so late. I mean, it's an excellent question. It just, there is no normal anymore, it seems, with our planting and harvesting seasons. So what's the wrong time to plant? What's the right and wrong time? In the spring. Don't plant this stuff in the spring. Get it in the fall. It's not like onions. We had beautiful onions this year. We used to grow onions for market at our farm, selling in the Twin Cities. And we could just get these huge, beautiful onions. We'd never plant them in the same place we'd planted garlic, right? That would run the rotation. Yes? At a different time, I would plant it as late as I could and get a bunch of mulch on it. If anything's going to be spring planted, it is softnecks. But what you're probably going to get is what's called a round. It won't divide. It'll be like a little onion. Or it'll just, what some people do is they make what's called green garlic. It's like a leek. You get it before it divides and chop it up and use it like you would leeks or scallions, that kind of thing. And that's fine. A leek, 50 cents a plant, a bulb, a whole lot of money. I'm going to let it mature. Okay, what's the right place to plant garlic? And there's one thing I didn't say, but right place, trick question, well drained, rotated, not in the same place you planted it yesterday, last year. The other thing is, I didn't say full sun. It wants full sunlight. My field that I use, big, huge cottonwood tree, you know, towards evening, parts of it gets a little shade. That's okay. But if it's going to be not going to get a full, you know, in the middle of, in June, 9 hours of sunlight, then at least it's not going to do well. And that also helps with the mold thing, having plenty of light on it. So that's those things with the right place, right time. And I'm going to go to the last slide, please, Teresa. And there's those QR codes. And again, my Garley, if you're from the, nobody's here from the Twin Cities, right? There's a nursery in the Twin Cities that also sells it. But otherwise, that'll be the place to get it, is from, I almost said Dan and Becky's Heirloom Foods. And then there's those QR codes. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.